Okay, welcome to this new segment that we are going to try. It's called Movie Time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Movie Time.
That's a good name, right?
And we have been watching Dungeons and Dragons, the movie from year 2000.
Yeah. The thought of this series is that we're going to watch kind of crappy movies, right?
Movies that are reviewed as crappy.
Yeah, exactly. Or have like a bad rumor or something like that.
We aim for the B movies, like movies you probably never have heard of.
Yeah, exactly. Those who are called B movies.
Exactly. And we're going to watch them and we're going to review them.
With very honest opinions.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Otherwise it would
No one is paying us anything for this, so we can be completely honest.
No, we're being sponsored by... No. Okay, so if we should start, I'm just going to find my awesome document here. Okay. And we were about to start sooner, but we have some microphone issues. It doesn't concern you.
But tragic for us.
Tragic for us. Yes.
Very so.
Okay, so as Adam said, the title of the movie is Dungeons and Dragons. And if you start, Adam, what was your expectations going into this movie?
I must say that my expectations were pretty much the lowest possible, because I actually got this movie as a gift like years ago, and I had actually watched it before now. And I read some about it online, and almost everyone gave it terrible reviews. So, because of that, I didn't expect a lot from it, but,
That's kind of intriguing when you find a movie that's only getting bad reviews. Isn't that true?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I was kind of curious that way, like, how bad can it be?
I can quote someone I read about it ruined Jeremy Irons' career. Jeremy Irons, sorry.
Is that
Jeremy Irons' career.
Oh,
yes.
okay. So, is that one of the actors in the movie, I guess?
Yeah, that was the bad guy. What was his name? It was...
Profion.
Oh, yeah.
Profion, okay, so... We're getting into the characters later, but yes, I can imagine that this isn't the best startup movie in your career. When I first saw this movie, or the title of it at least, I thought that, okay, this is going to be some nerdy shit that I'm not going to... relate to in that deep sense that Dungeons and Dragons might require, but it wasn't anything like that. It was a very feel-good movie. It was kind of a movie that you could watch on a Sunday. I mean, it was very...
I think the key is that you shouldn't go into this movie and expect it to be like a serious movie. It's better to view it like as a half comedy.
Yeah.
If you do that, it's you can actually have a lot of fun with it.
Yes.
Actually, I got the feeling that the group were like our group of D&D characters made by... casual players who made a couple of goofy characters and their interactions.
That's what my point was, because I kind of feel that the Dungeons and Dragons version of this movie is kind of like being directed by someone who isn't really that into Dungeons and Dragons. So if we would say that someone would give me the script and say, okay, Jimmy, let's direct this, I would go in with, okay, what is Dungeons and Dragons? Okay, it's dungeons and it's dragons and and nothing more into it. Yeah. It will be quite simple directed movie, I would say. And I mean.
And you can say what you want about the group, but when I think of the characters as individuals, each of them are definitely some kind of character I could have made for a D&D campaign and go for that personality, no doubt.
Yeah, so the movie kind of fits the more loosely playing Dungeons and Dragons players.
That's
I would
the
say.
thing, yeah. They don't go hardcore Dungeons and Dragons. In fact, I think we'll go into more detail, but I would say that there are a lot of things in it that aren't actually true to the Dungeons and Dragons lore. But, you know...
So if you were a complete hardcore Dungeons and Dragons player, you would hate this movie. For sure.
If you go into it and you would know Dungeons and Dragons, you would expect it to be completely true to Dungeons and Dragons universe, then you would hate this movie, because they don't do that.
And I think that's why it has bad reviews. But I see it as something with casual players who have made characters for a group, and it's the story is driven by a casual dungeon master who made a story.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So if we go into the characters, let's start with Ridley and Snails.
Snails is the best character.
He's the best character in the movie, but Ridley and Snails.
But who is Ridley and Snails?
Okay, so those two, they are two thieves.
Yeah.
That, they are thieves. And they want to break into the magic school, I think it was.
Yeah.
Ridley wants to, and Snails doesn't really want to. It seems like he's more following orders, but he goes along, and they...
The thing about them is that they don't actually have anything to do with the political conflict that's the core of the movie. They kind of just accidentally wander into it, you can say.
They are the comic relief.
Yeah, they are the comic relief, especially Snails.
Yeah, Snails is the true comic relief of the movie, definitely.
But you can really feel that those two are best friends. They have been staying together for a long time, and they know each other in and out.
Yeah.
And actually, I read some reviews, and the people have written that those are too silly to fit in a world. But actually, I have seen people in the real world who are much worse than those guys. Seriously, people like that exist.
But then you can question: are they too silly for the real world, or too silly for the hardcore Dungeons and Dragons world?
In the hardcore, maybe, but in the real world, I have seen people who are worse.
Oh yeah,
and
I would say that I'm more silly, or
it's definitely true that they are silly, and let's face it, they are not very good at what they do. They are pretty clumsy and they do a lot of mistakes, but honestly, that just makes it more fun if you
But
unless you expect a completely serious movie.
But actually, they do things right too.
They do.
They go out as silly, and it's like they want to show the characters that people who do things wrong, but they do a lot of things right too. Actually,
they do.
On the way.
They do succeed actually with stuff they do. Yes,
they are not good thieves. I gotta say, if you go into the Dungeons and Dragons classes, they are not good rogues.
No, especially since. The core thing about thieves and rogues and Dungeons and Dragons is that their main ability is the backstab. They don't really backstab anyone.
No, they're very true to themselves, and they are good characters.
Yeah,
they don't want to backstab anyone. They try to make it sound like they only want money, or they only want like gold or anything like that. But in the big picture, they actually care for each other and also the other ones in the group.
I gotta say, at the worst day, those guys are chaotic good. On the worst day. Otherwise, they are really nice guys. Pretty much. Not very thief-like in most ways.
Exactly. So they kind of feel like honest thieves, but they still need to survive.
Indeed.
In a way, yeah.
And they actually mentioned a few times that they have this honor among thieves that they follow. So, that's a good trait.
Yeah, they mentioned it a couple of times, that codex.
Yeah.
Which shows that even the chaotic good thing I said is bullshit, since they have their code of thieves. So they are good guys, pretty much.
And of those two, you can sense that Ridley is the guy who is deciding where to go or what's next to happen. And Snails is kind of the follower.
And he's like, what the fuck all the time, but he still goes along and helps. He's a true friend who always is helping his
He's
best.
like the black guy in Die Hard, when he says he's too old for this shit. but it still does
but
the
it
same
still
shit.
does it all the time.
Exactly.
And then it does something and it goes terrible, but it still comes out alive. And then it goes again, I'm too old for this shit.
Yeah.
But snails still do it again and again.
And if we move on to the third guy in this group is Marina. And who is
Marina? She is the sorcerer who can use only one spell, and that is teleportation.
She's a mage.
Yeah, mage.
She is the mage of the group, but if they wouldn't tell you that, you would have a hard time believing it.
She can teleport. She did like...
Yeah. She did one spell in the beginning, which is teleporting, I think.
It seems like she can actually use spells where she has that magical powder, because it was like that when she used teleport spell.
Yeah, and then she used that lightning stuff that was also with the powder.
Yeah,
we can't go too deep into that specific scene, but
point is that whenever she uses spells, she has to throw some kind of magical powder, or like other wizards you see, they can just throw spells like on their own.
Yes, at least the powerful wizards you see can just do shit. You know, like powerful wizards in real Dungeons and Dragons, they do stuff.
So I don't know what exactly that's meant to be, because Dungeons and Dragons, it's not really a rule that you need some kind of powder to throw spells unless you're a powerful wizard.
You see, I would buy it if there was some reason, but they never mention why she needs that stuff to cast her spells.
Yeah, I think it's bad writing. I think it's hard for the people writing the script try to fit her in the story, because if she can use magic easily, then it would be hard for them to progress without her being like the solving puzzle piece every time.
That's the thing, and if she could abuse her teleport spell, then it would make the quest so much easier if she could just teleport part of it.
They could have used the spells per day thing from Dungeons and Dragons. Like, there are stuff in real Dungeons and Dragons that need regents. Many spells, I would buy that.
Of course.
But that there are so many things she cannot do without regen. I mean, she should have been able to use basic spells, I think. Because the spells per day thing with the teleport would have been a legit reason that would actually fit.
Okay. Do you like her as a character in this group?
I think she's the most thin character of the group. Actually.
She is necessary because she's the one in the group that actually like introduces Ridley and Snails to the quest and kind of pushes them to join her on it.
Yes,
she supported her story, but she doesn't contribute more than starting the story and you know, trying to direct the story, but she doesn't help the story.
I gotta say, I think her acting is fine, but she should have been more involved in it, and she should have been more mage-like. They could have made her use a bit of magic without ruining
it. Would have been cool to use more spells. They don't have to be like grand and epic spells or anything, but just something to show that she has the spells so she can use them.
She could have at least thrown a ray of frost or something at someone or whatever.
Yeah, we just use some divination or something. Just something.
Yeah. But, she was really useful for the story. The movie wouldn't work without her at all.
And the character Norda, I'm going to be honest, I don't even remember her entering the movie. Well, she just appeared for me.
Well, she was in the bar, she was hot, and Snails saw her, and then, you know.
Okay, so Snails were hitting on this elf.
Wow.
Yeah, in the bar.
And that I remember, but I can't remember her being a part of the story later on. When does she enter the movie?
I can tell you why she actually is a part of the story, but I think I should wait with that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But, okay.
I remember actually.
So, you can start to talk about her as a character.
So she's an elf, and she's supposed to be a ranger, and she is sent by the queen to track down this kind of artifact that they're trying to find for the story. And since the group of other, I'm going to call them heroes, also do that, after things happen, they team up and do it together.
Okay, so she just has the same holy grail as they do, and so she team up with the group.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, more or less, I think.
Does he have any special something that's like defining her as a character? I think she's pretty plain.
You mean the ranger stuff or the personality?
The personality or everything that makes her a character, because she seems very plain.
Nothing much.
I can hardly remember her.
She's pretty much an elf ranger.
Yeah,
I think she has her short sword, and she's
going to be this cool girl, or something like that. But does she do anything?
Well, if they meant for her to be the cool girl there, they actually failed, because it falls pretty flat, the whole concept of her character.
She wants to be tough, at least. She's trying to be tough.
Yeah, and she's not tough, but she doesn't really make an impact.
No, exactly. That's my point.
No, you didn't even remember.
No, so. I can hardly remember. I remember her now when you refer to that scene with snails, but otherwise she's like a nobody for me. I think the movie could have done without her.
Actually, if you would remove her from the movie, I think the story would be able to progress exactly the same.
Exactly. That's the difference between her and Marina. Because Marina, for me, is also someone character who's more for the story and trying to point it in one direction. And she has a purpose of that. And Norda entering later, but doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, if they removed Marina, the story just wouldn't work.
Exactly.
It would all break.
And then my favorite character, the dwarf, who isn't a dwarf.
I have so much to say about him, but you can introduce. Most of what I have to say about the dwarf comes in the spoilers, so you can introduce him.
Okay, the dwarf is a guy that enters the group quite early on.
I would say that Ridley and Snape enter the plot accidentally, but that's still nothing compared to the dwarf, because he enters accidentally, very much accidentally.
Yes, I don't even remember what kind of random situation that made him enter the group. But I do remember, and this is early on, so I would say that this is a spoiler in that way, but he is at the bar, and then Dumbledore, as we will come to later, is entering the bar, and then later on he is a part of the group.
Actually, it was... I can go details on this on the spoiler stuff,
okay.
But there was
Let's wait.
A convenient drop kick on a bad guy from the dwarf, and then he followed the group, and then he started complaining about how he wanted gold for everything.
Let's wait with the dwarf then. But you can remember that he's a dwarf, but he's not a dwarf. Then we go to the bad guys, and the top bad guy in this movie is a guy called Profion.
Oh yes, played by Jeremy Irons.
Yes, and that was the start of his career.
Such a pity, huh? At least people say so.
The bad part is that the movie isn't that bad. It shouldn't be that bad for him. I mean, it's still an okay movie for him, and he doesn't do that bad.
Actually, what was so weird about him, it was the weird mix. Like, mostly, I got the vibe of the Emperor from Star Wars, the first.
Yeah.
And then sometimes a weird vibe of Gargamel from the Smurfs.
Okay.
Weird.
Yeah, but let's start. Who is he? Who is in this movie?
He's like... well, in this kingdom that this movie is about, it's ruled by this... there is the empress, but then there's also this council of mages that... The Empress seems to have power over the council, but the council still rules. I guess they're right below her or something.
Yeah.
And anyway, this guy Profion, he's like the head of the mage council, so like the arch wizard of the kingdom or something like that.
And he's the first face we see in his movie.
Yeah.
He appears in a dungeon with a dragon, and then he tries to grab one of these rods in order to try to control this dragon.
Yeah.
I don't need to say any more than that, but he is the obvious bad guy in this movie.
And actually, even though the beginning is how it is, you instantly get the feeling, I think, that he is powerful Like he's the guy. He's strong.
His face is kind of a stereotype of a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's like this privileged white guy, wants to rule everything.
I thought directly when I saw him, like, oh my god, this guy's gonna be trouble the whole movie. Pretty much.
Yeah. Do you think he works as a bad guy?
I mean, I actually think so, because the thing is that from a movie like this, you would kind of expect bad guy to be like, stupidly evil or like evil without motivation. But this guy actually, what he does makes sense. Like, he's a logical character.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And,
he has a purpose. He's not the bad guy who only wants to rob the bank and grab money. He has this purpose of wanting to rule the land, and he wants to do it with a plan, not just some dumb behavior. He wants to grab this rod.
Dragon rod.
Yeah, that rod. And he wants to control in order to get an army and that overrule.
But one thing that surprised us is, it's not really a spoiler, but towards the end, he gets the chance to kill a guy, and we all thought that he would do it, even though he really had no reason to, just to like prove to the audience that he's like really evil and he is doing really evil shit. But he actually didn't do it, and that surprised us.
So all the way up to there, I thought he was neutral evil, purely, but I got a lawful vibe there actually.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, if I was playing a character in Dungeons and Dragons and the DM made that bad guy, I would be alright with it. I would buy the story, it would be good.
Yeah. And then we have the bad guy, the second guy, who is some sort of right hand to Profion, and his name is Damodar. And if I were to look at this movie without knowing the story, I would assume that he is the purely bad guy in this movie. No. He has the looks for it. I'm going to be very stereotypical here, but he has the bald guy. He's like the muscles. He's really too tough and have this cool armor. And for some reason, some blue lipstick.
Yeah, that was really weird.
That was weird.
Yeah.
That was
and
really weird.
Also, the one thing about him is that he has a tendency of always walking slowly and dramatic. He never runs or is quick. He walks dramatic and
even
slow.
in the times when he should be hurrying.
Yes, still slow and dramatic.
Exactly, and he also has a purpose in this movie because he wants to get back is it the dragon eye he wants?
Well, dragon eye, and through that the dragon rod, because you need
but he is under hostage of Profion.
Yeah.
And by that he needs to follow what he's doing.
Yeah.
It's just not this typical right hand, that's okay, my boss is telling me to do this, so I'm doing it. He has like this take on him, so he needs to do as he says.
Yeah,
which is why he probably couldn't be persuaded, no matter how hard.
Exactly.
So actually, through the whole movie, you never get to know what he actually wants or what he thinks.
We have this this middle guy. I don't know if it's even worth mentioning, but Silas.
I don't really think so.
Well, maybe
Silas is this gay dude.
Maybe he will be mentioned in the spoilers, but other than that, I don't have much to say.
We can mention it in the spoilers.
He doesn't have much of a role otherwise. He might have a role in the spoilers.
Okay, but we haven't mentioned the emperor, the queen, or
the empress. So.
Well,
the empress is obviously that she works so hard to make herself out to be the good guy.
Don't you get some sort of Star Wars similarities here? Because you have these different races in the background who isn't really Dungeons and Dragons related. It's just you give the makeup guy a lot of money and he tries to to be creative. That's what he's doing, but it has nothing to do with the story. And then you have this little girl. I'm going to relate her as Anakin's wife,
Queen Amidala.
Yeah, exactly. And also and Profion being Palpatine. I mean, for me, there's similarities. I'm not going to say that there is, but I think there is.
But actually, so they made her character. I would say she's very naive as a character. Because all she is go and preach freedom.
Yeah.
Like mage and non-mage should be equal in society, everything. But she doesn't say anything how or why and
it's always
how
easy.
she wants to achieve it or what it will lead to.
It's always easy telling the right thing to do. But how is a different thing.
Like, I think everyone, even the bad guys, would like a world that's perfect for everyone, but it wouldn't work. And she has no reason it should work. So, she has nice thoughts. She's a nice
Yeah, of course she has nice
person,
thoughts.
but
I can be nice too and say the right things, but if I don't have a plan, it doesn't matter.
But I don't see her as much of a leader, because all she has are ideals and values and not much more. I didn't get much respect for her at all.
But should we enter spoiler territory?
The
story.
Okay. Yeah, let's enter the spoiler now.
Okay, so from here on it's spoilers. So.
Yeah.
Alright.
Okay.
So,
here we go.
So should I actually start with like the main story, how it starts?
Yeah, sure you can do. I have written the dwarf is worthless.
I have things to say about the
we
dwarf.
can wait with that.
Okay, so
Oh yeah, I have so much.
so the actual story is the conflict between the queen who wants and starts. First of all, I should say that in this kingdom, apparently, it's thing that if you're mage, then you're privileged and you are like the ruling class. If you can't use magic, then you are like more a slave or something like that.
Yeah, you're worthless.
You're worthless.
Yeah,
and the whole movie is about the conflict between these kinds of mages want to keep their power and keep the people in oppression, and the queen who wants the non-magic users to also become equals to the magic users. So that's what this whole thing is about. And the queen, she has a dragon rod which she can use to command the green dragons, and that's why she has so much power.
And for those of you who don't know Dungeons and Dragons, dragons are pretty damn powerful.
Yeah, but the thing is that they aren't kind of like Dungeons and dragons, because in the actual Dungeons and Dragons they are very intelligent and even more powerful. They can speak and such. They don't do that here.
More like drakes, I guess.
More like drakes. But anyway, so the whole point of the story is that they find out that there's another dragon rod that they can command red dragons. So both sides in this conflict kind of want it to have more power to their side. So that's the rod that the group of heroes trying to find, and the bad guys are kind of chasing them to get it before them.
The funny thing about the rods is in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Because as I said, this guy Profion, who is the main bad guy, he appears in the movie. He's the first guy to appear in the movie, and you can see him grab the green rod, and then he wants to control a dragon, which is in this dungeon. But for some reason he cannot control this dragon, and the dragon tries to kill him, and so they close this
gate.
Yeah, they close this gate on the dragon, so he dies, the dragon. But then they cut the movie into a next scene, and he doesn't have the green rod anymore.
Yeah, that's
what happened to
Actually,
him?
there I imagine a scene where he is acting like I did when I was a teenager. Like when I tried to put the TV on and the remote didn't work, I was like, oh, this shit sucks, and threw it in the wall and walked away.
Yeah, he threw it away, and the empress found it. No,
Yeah,
but I can't remember him giving it away or putting it somewhere
No,
for someone else to find.
Since no one of us three saw it, I don't think it was there.
Because he still has the green rod, and if he can't control that specific dragon, he can control other dragons.
And I mean, the rod
she could.
I mean, the rod is green. When
Yeah.
a red dragon doesn't work, why doesn't it try a green one? The rod is green.
That was strange scene, and it made little sense.
They should have had something in between there
Yeah.
that showed what actually.
So he had a rod, but he lost it somehow.
But it didn't work anyway, so...
Yeah, but it didn't work in that
But
specific
they should
dragon.
have shown something.
Yeah, they should have shown something.
That first scene was confusing.
Even if it would have been something half lame in between, they should have showed it.
Half lame is better than nothing.
But, so, which one of you wants to rant about the dwarf?
Oh, I can start about the dwarf. Alright, so we see a dwarf at the bar. He's a weird dwarf. And conveniently, he's just a tad shorter than the female characters of the group.
He isn't short.
No, he's just at the...
He's a short man, that's all.
I
He's not a
mean,
dwarf.
he's probably the lower part of average in Scandinavia. And, alright. So, the thing is, he was at the bar, he did weird stuff. And then when the group encountered Demodar later on, and had a problem, then he weirdly appeared and drop-kicked Demodar. And suddenly walked with the group without knowing them before. And then he just complained how he wanted gold for what he did for the group, and he did nothing more than that.
There was no deal.
No, they didn't tell him to come. Actually, I think they were mostly annoyed by him.
And that was the funny part about the dwarf. Because putting aside that he isn't a dwarf, he's just slightly shorter than the average guy. That's pretty much it. But the thing was that it kind of become a fun thing during the movie, because every scene you would look at him and wondering, what the hell are you doing there?
But actually, I have to mention...
He was just doing faces, like...
And he still would get paid.
But I gotta mention the dwarf thing, because they never mention he's a dwarf until later in the movie. But because of the Dungeons and Dragons mentality we have, when he was not very tall, and he had that kind of armor and an axe, we immediately thought he's a dwarf.
Yeah.
We just thought it.
But he talks about dwarven women, at least, in that bar scene.
Yeah, about 5 minutes after he appeared, and we decided he's a dwarf.
He has a similar appearance as the dwarf in The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, he's meant to be a stereotypical dwarf.
Yeah, probably.
They look very similar. The only difference is that the dwarf in Lord of the Rings is actually a dwarf, and he's not. The other guy, whatever his name was. You have his name? It's like Elwood or something. Doesn't matter.
Elwood, yes.
Elwood, yeah, okay.
Which is, I don't know if it's ever mentioned inside the movie.
No, I can't remember.
Actually, I didn't know it until I looked it up. And I have it here. It's Elwood.
Yeah, so maybe we mention his name, but none of us can remember it.
I don't think it was... No, it was mentioned one time, I think. One time.
Good for him.
Yeah, so I should probably mention about Norda also, since we're in spoiler territory, that her thing is that she's a tracker worker for the Empress, and she was sent by the Empress to track down the hero group, because they have the scroll which serves as the map to that dragon ruby, which in turn is the key to the red dragon rod. So that's how, that's her role, that's where she comes from.
Okay.
So, Jimmy, would you like to get us started with Snails? Important character.
I like Snails. Snails is a funny guy. It's the actor from the scary movie movies, the black guy. And he I think he does a really good job with what he has to work with the script and his way of acting. I think the dialogue and I think the chemistry and I think the jokes works from his side, because I think he's very fluent in this story. I mean, it's like over exaggerating him a bit because it's quite a lame story, but he is very funny and he works as a comic relief.
He's obviously the main comic relief, and I thought he was the best character in the
he's the Jar Jar Binks in this movie, but
only that he's actually funny.
Yeah, he is actually funny.
And also he's funny and useful. That's the thing.
Exactly. And the most surprising part about Ridley is that he actually dies.
No, snails, you mean?
No. Yeah, snails. I was talking about the bad guy. Yeah. The wrong guy, yeah. Ridley is it's also the hero in the movie.
Ridley is the hero.
Yeah, and he's like this very... how should I say? He's very much the hero. He's got the pretty face. He meets the lady in the beginning, which he's going to F later on.
But as a hero, I feel like he's just a regular player character, but it's like a player who rolls 15 plus all the time. Everything he does.
He's supposed to be this charming guy, and I don't know. I don't have anything against him, but I think it's too typical. We should remember that this movie is 20 years old, so we shouldn't be too harsh towards it.
No,
but there are a lot of stereotypes in this movie, and he's a typical one. He's American Pie, charming guy.
But I have to add on the stereotype guy about snails. I think they get it really good because, in a way, he's like a stereotype black guy of a movie in the way he talks and acts. But still, I don't think it gets so far that I get a racist vibe of it.
No.
Like, they keep it on a good level. It's funny.
You can think of it as racist if you want to go into the details, because he's black and he's a thief. And
he basically takes orders from his wife.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed this, but in the bar he ate chicken.
I actually think he was the only one who ate chicken there.
Yes, so there are some, if you want to go into the details.
If you want to,
but the movie itself doesn't present him as this guy.
No.
They want him to be this funny guy, like he is, and as he's going to be later on in the scary movies, he's actually the same character, I would say, only played out in the Dungeons and Dragons.
And he's not like the useful servant buddy guy. Like, he is useful. He does good stuff.
Yeah,
Snails. He's not worthless or weak.
No, and also everything he says or does feel very genuine. It feels. He's really good at acting. So even if it's a lame joke or it's a lame script or everything like that, he makes it work. So I think Snails is definitely the best character in this movie.
I think so.
And also the best actor, without a doubt.
And I get the feeling that the actor probably had the room when to improvise a lot when they filmed this. It feels that way.
And he dies.
Yeah, I mean that actually we didn't expect that.
No, that was very surprising.
I thought that was a real shame because, as I said, I thought he was the best part of the movie, and then suddenly he dies.
Exactly, and it's Damodar who murders him. Why?
Because he challenged Damodar.
Yeah.
But what I think is after that, like Ridley gets wounded after that in the fight.
Yeah.
And then you see Ridley waking up healed by an elf. And elf says something like, elves don't use magic, we are made of magic or something, and he can heal. And we don't hear anything about snails there, not even a funeral.
No.
So
it could be that they can't actually bring it back from the dead, but I don't know.
Maybe, but it feels weird that we didn't hear anything then about a funeral or even a mention of snails, like they just forgot.
Yeah, and also it doesn't feel like it's common knowledge in that time, in that in that world that elves only can heal the wounded. So they could potentially carry snails to this elf in order to try.
It would be nice if they actually tried. Yeah. Now it's like they're like, snails who? And they just like they heal Ridley and move on.
Or at least a funeral.
Yeah, snail is dead, so they threw out the window, and it's like 3 meters down. So screw him. Let's move on.
And they actually had an elf in the group. You would think she would mention something about the elves being able to heal.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing we should mention also is that there aren't that many real Dungeons and Dragons references in this movie because, as we said, it didn't go that hardcore. But one thing that actually appears is beholders. That was kind of funny.
Okay, Adam, I want to see how you respond to this. I read a lot of reviews. A lot of people are complaining about those blue floating heads that suddenly appeared and had nothing to do with the story. Can you talk about those?
Those blue floating heads are beholders. And yeah, good Goblin go on that the beholders wouldn't be working as guards for that kind of force or something, because beholders supposed to be very powerful creatures. But yeah, maybe it doesn't make perfect sense, but still fun to see them because they actually look like beholders do in the lore.
Oh, so it is a Dungeons and Dragons reference.
It is a really nice black monster. It's one of the more dangerous monsters you can encounter, actually.
Because it's weird when you see the reviews at IMDb, and some of them, they are writing first, making clear that they are Dungeons and Dragons fans, hardcore, and then they still complain about those so-called blue floating heads. And even I knew that they are called beholders, actually. So those hardcore fans should actually also know what they are, at least.
Yeah.
Just a bit of complaint on the reviews.
Yeah, but so overall, what is your verdict of this movie? I would say between 1 and 10. What do you think?
7.
7. That's pretty good.
7 is good, yeah.
I think before we do the verdict thing, we need to explain from which angle we're coming at. If it's from a Dungeons and Dragons movie angle, or is it like a laid-back movie angle, or what do you think?
All right, I'll go with this. Okay, so I'm thinking about a campaign where people actually made those characters in the group, and a casual DM made this story, and you actually made a movie about that.
So it's not hardcore fans, more of a casual.
But imagine if we would have that setting.
Yeah.
Like if Adam made that story and we made those characters and someone made a movie about that.
And that's more casual.
Yeah, and it's pretty well done in that case.
Yeah.
So I think 7 of 10. It's far from perfect, but I really enjoyed it. And I think those terrible reviews just have the wrong angle at it.
Yeah, I think that it's like when they wrote this movie, that the ones that wrote it obviously aren't hardcore Dungeons and Dragons fans, because law-wise they got many things off. But it's like someone give them a quick rundown about what Dungeons and Dragons is about and what you can find in Dungeons and Dragons world. Like, okay, let's make a story with this. So yeah. It's not for the hardcore fans. It doesn't give fan service like those specific things that a hardcore Dungeons & Dragons fan would expect to find. But it's not a completely serious movie either. But if you look at it as casual, funny movie, that's just that, a funny movie on a funny adventure, then I think it's a good movie. I will give it 6 out of 10.
6, okay. Yeah, I'm going to review it from the same angle. It's going to be if you want to see a movie in which you don't have any expectations at all. You're going in pretty low, and you're watching it perhaps with your friends, and just maybe not 100% focusing on the movie when you're chatting with your friends, that is a good movie for you.
I think a perfect setting this would be like if we were a bunch of friends and you were like having a few beers or something and you want a movie to watch.
Yeah, and the movie doesn't need to be the focus of it.
No, it doesn't have to.
No, exactly. So I would say that is a good movie for that. So if we had an own category for that, I would give this a very high review because that works very good at that. But I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 because I think it's a quite entertaining movie. I think some of the characters are good. I really like Snails and I like Ridley and I like the relationship that they have. I don't really care that much for the other characters. I do think the dwarf is funny, but he's not funny because of the script. He's funny because he doesn't do shit.
He's funny because you wonder why are you even in the movie.
Exactly.
And to be fair, it's in the script that he doesn't do anything, which is why he's funny.
It's because of the script. Yeah, so it's fun in that perspective. So I'm going to give it, what did I say, 6? Yeah,
I would say that if Snails was in this movie, I'd probably give it like 4.
But
exactly.
I'm gonna
this movie.
add about the dwarf while we're still in the spoiler thing. Like in the end, when they are in a bad situation and the dwarf comes to the bad guy with the axe and is about to hit him, I thought that, oh my god, this is his moment. He's gonna slaughter this shit. But then he just gets paralyzed by a spell.
I think we're all waiting for the time when the dwarf actually will do something useful.
Yeah,
but
we're waiting for the spin-off movie.
But he gets an E for effort. For that at least.
Yeah,
okay, so
a weak effort, but sure.
Yeah.
So
I will give it a 6 out of 10, and you, Adam, 6 out of 10, and Victor give it a 7 out of 10. So
pretty good movie.
Yeah, give it a go.
Give it a go.
I would recommend it if you're the right person for it and in the right setting and mood. Yes.
So thank you, and see you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.